Yeah, yeah, yeah. Huh. Yeah, it's percolating. Good morning. Yeah. Good morning to the people on Facebook. Good morning to the people on IG. Good morning to the people on the YouTube. Good morning to the people on LinkedIn and Twitter too. Java. Percolating. Get a vibe, stay ready. Truth in the cup, keep it strong, keep it steady. Pull up a chair, yeah. Take a sip with me. Good morning, good people. Java with Jimmy. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, the love percolating. Love percolating. Java with Jimmy. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good morning. Yeah, the love percolating. Yeah, Java with Jimmy. Good morning. Percolating. Yeah, we in it. Yeah, we in it. Good morning. Good morning. Java with Jimmy. Percolating. Yeah, we in it. Yeah, we in it. Good morning. Good morning. Java with Jimmy.
Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, February 4th, 2026, and you're in the Java Cafe this morning. We are getting ready to have a much needed conversation about Black Power in Boston. I think I will say that the most recent iteration of us recognizing that we need to recalibrate our Black Power is found in a lot of the conversation around P3, that, as I've been saying, is a present demonstration of generations, decades long, systemic ways in which Black economic development is limited and hindered in some cases. And so we're going to talk about an observation that I had in reference to the recognition that, I'll just say it like this: we need to recalibrate our Black Power. And there are quite a few people that can speak to this, but this young man that's coming in is no stranger to the Java Cafe. Before Java, he's been instrumental in my tutelage and learning a lot about politics and power and community and organizing. And so it was such an easy ask to ask him to come this morning and talk about that. For those of you that are looking for our usual first Wednesday morning guest, she will be with us on Friday at noon. Also on Friday, we're opening up the Java Cafe to also speak with Amani White from Reclaim Roxbury. And so I'm going to get ready to bring Carlos into the Java Cafe. We were working through a couple of tech things. He's in his man cave. But the information is what's important. So if we have to pause for a minute and he switches devices, that's fine. But we're going to go ahead and bring this good brother in. Oh, yep. And he's going to have to switch devices. Carlos. All right, let me get you here. There you go.
I'm switching. I had to switch cameras real quick because.
Oh, okay. It was the camera.
You were freezing on the other one. How's the audio? Good? Still good?
The audio's good. You look good. Shift it a little more so you're right in the middle so our wonderful folks on IG can see all
You
of
don't
that.
even be talking to the folks on IG.
I do. I engage with them. Helena's on there right now. Leslie, Orange City is on. And, you know, they'll come on because
Shout out to everybody on IG.
Once you start talking, folks are going to tune in. So you sound good. You look good. So we're good.
All right.
I just want to let the folks know
Oh, wait. Thank you for calling me a young man too. I don't know if that's because of your age difference of being older than me, or you were just being complimentary. But I appreciate it because it doesn't happen too often. So I didn't want to let that pass. Thank you. I appreciate
It yes. It's interesting because I told folks that, sometimes the right lighting and camera can show all of our salt and pepper. But on a side note, we need to be able to celebrate that we are two black men, at least one over 50. You're not over 50 yet, right?
it. No, I'm not even 50 yet. Just
But two, Carlos, you're not going to do me today. But
saying, let's leave that right there. Let's just leave it alone. Then. Let's just walk.
leave that
Let's
right there.
just walk it back. Yeah, we'll just leave it right there.
It's good context and transition. We're going to talk a little bit about the past today. Carlos is a former elected official, came up under his dad, who was a powerful community activist and knows the system. And so we're going to talk about examples that we've seen of Black power in the past. We're going to talk about things present. And we're going to talk about, for me, most importantly, and I said to Carlos last night in full transparency, what we're going to focus on is not new. I did lives with Carlos before Java and whatnot about our power as individuals. And yes, we're going to talk about some expectations of those that assert themselves as leadership, those that whose paid jobs and volunteer jobs are to coalesce Black people for the purpose of equity. And so that's sort of our agenda today. And Carlos, I did not start as I usually do, as a Black man, as someone that knows the system, sees what's actively going on nationally, seeing how some of that sentiment is playing itself out locally. I have to ask, how are you as Los, as a Black man that is aware, that is woke? How are you doing?
I'm well. This is not new. This is not new uncharted territory for a black man. This is par for the course. So, I'm watching everybody else slowly on the wake up and get the crust out of their eyes. But for us black men, we've been here. It's not new seeing cops shoot and kill people on video camera. It's not new to see police brutality. It's not new to see government not serve its people. Let me stop shaking that table. Those things aren't new. They're just, like you said earlier, repeats. A lot of some of the things continue to happen systemically, and so after a while, you learn how to weather the storms.
We've talked about integration and things like that. Just sort of embracing it is what it is. It's not a defeatist thing, but the reality of what this country has always been. Something I saw Brother Rufus post that stop saying that they're doing the Nazi ways. The Nazis came here.
Yeah, study here. Yeah.
So that's a part of the past in the overall scope, Carlos. And dealing with Carlos, I have notes. Yes. So,
but just to that point you just made, and to the point that Rufus brought up, like that just because I think this will come up later on. Like that just shows you the brainwashing. Because mostly you hear white folks saying that about other white folks. And that just shows you how either delusional or how brainwashed they are, because they don't even know that their systemic racism started long before, hundreds of years before Nazi Germany. They don't know that Germans came over and studied here. So they can repeat that with some kind of clarity as if they've discovered something or they got a gotcha moment, but really they're living the hypocrisy as well. So I just think it's an interesting thing to hear that happen.
When I saw that, and Rufus is the type, he doesn't, do a lot of social media and whatnot. When I saw that video, I said, oh, it's a real observation, and we can talk further about that in an after dark. But I want to go back a little bit, and I think this will level set this conversation about Black power. We, as most recently as the last presidential election, the conversation about the diaspora.
The Black diaspora? Who's diaspora?
The Black, thank you, because I learned something from you yesterday. The Black diaspora.
Yep.
Who's a part of it? Who's Black? Terms like foundational Black American. We saw a lot of the pushback over at the CAS Center when you have veterans and people that are working. There was a video that resurfaced lately where the young man said, I'm working 40 hours a week. These people come here and they get all the services. That, Carlos, brought up a conversation you and I have talked about often about immigration, our migrant brothers and sisters, some by choice. And if we cannot forget, some were shipped here from other states for the purpose of promoting that.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's what you're saying.
So let's, if you don't mind, in the beginning, let's level set a little bit about this conversation. My last thing here is, when this was going on and ICE targeting our migrant brothers and sisters, there were a lot of us that were sharing with our networks and audiences of saying, hey, legally, this is the way that they can assert themselves and arrest and kill migrants, and also now, white Americans. It's on everybody's radar now. And as you said, we've been dealing with this for decades.
Centuries.
Centuries. Yes, I was morally talking about us. You already done called me old. We've been dealing with this for decades as people and centuries as a people. I was saying that this is the quickest legal way that we see before our eyes, Carlos, that now we're going back to their ability to basically function. If you look brown or black, stop and frisk. I think that, and so with all of that, what is your commentary? What are your thoughts about who is black? And yes, who is black, and how do we seize black diaspora power, withholding the fact that foundational black Americans often experience folks jumping in and out when it's convenient?
Yeah. So I won't try to unpack this whole thing. I'm taking notes too, so I can be sharp. You mentioned my father earlier. I also mentioned my mother, who's a heck of an administrator and professional in her own right. So coming up under both of them, what I learned quickly is my father got to decide my name. You know what I mean? So I'm Carlos Henriquez because my father named me after someone in our lineage. My nickname was decided by my mother, who was a foundational Black American or American descendant of slavery, while my father was an immigrant from Panama, his parents from Jamaica and Panama. So for me, I've always known that my father was a Black man and my mother was a Black woman. And I know that makes me a Black man. And although my father was Julio Henriquez, I understood the difference between ethnicity and him having English as a second language and that of still being a Black man. Evidenced by the way cops would talk to him when we were in the street, evidenced by the way other Black men would treat him or white men would treat him when we were in society. So even as a construct, obviously as a construct, it's about pigment, it's about melanin. And then for me, and then it branches off, everybody has their own definition of what is Black. Do you have to speak English first? What if you speak Spanish? You're Dominican and not Black. You're Cape Verdean, you're not Black. We have all these ways to divide up the diaspora, which I don't think does us any service. I think it's nice to hold on to heritage and culture in that sense, but I also think we need to learn how to create and work together as a diaspora, much like our European counterparts do. They put aside their Italian heritage and their Irish heritage and their Scottish heritage and all the heritage of the 70 some odd countries in Europe when they come here and form as Voltron and become white. Whether they're chasing down Indians and scalping natives, I'm sorry, Scott, see, it's still brainwashed, scalping Native Americans and killing bison, to whether they're illegally immigrating now and not being pursued by ICE because of their skin tone. So it kind of ranges, but that's just my generic, it's, to me, Black is based on your skin tone and how society recognizes your skin tone and treats you accordingly to it.
My example there, and we'll move on and start talking about what we've seen in the past, is that if you get pulled over, we're on the spectrum. You mentioned melanin and skin tone. I'm not white appearing. As light as I am, they may think I'm of Hispanic descent, Cape Verdean descent, Caribbean descent. And so I just want to close that out, that the importance of us holding who we are and our ethnicities in the Black diaspora is definitely valid with the various cultures.
Right.
However, as you said, the Voltron of white America and what they're doing now, they're not having that conversation.
Right. They've moved past that, and maybe the late 1800s, early 1900s, they were able to move past it. I think there was a time when we weren't as deeply in it either. You know, I don't remember reading about Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X and MLK arguing about Marcus Garvey being from Jamaica and being an immigrant, right? We're talking about Black power as a diaspora. So, you know, but I get it. I don't want to dismiss it, because there are people who have been here for centuries, who have suffered, who have labored, who have done work to make sure that this country is more equitable for all, especially brown and Black people. So when people who did not have the same legacy, historical legacy, arrive on this land and partake in some of the benefits and live side by side with foundational Black Americans usually, and have some of the same social ills, but don't identify with, but then kind of use us as a ladder, or use some of the gains we've made and climb, what some people say, climb past us in certain areas, depending on where you are in the country or where you are in the city. It creates some bad blood, some negative feelings there. And so those need to be had. The divide between Blacks and Latinos needs to be had in America and in Boston. Same thing with immigrants and foundational Black Americans. Like, these are conversations. And, you know, part of me didn't even want to do this on live. I was like, are we airing our dirty laundry out in public? But everybody sees the shit. Everybody sees it. It's blowing in the wind. So it's not much to hide. It's really about time to talk about it publicly, because it's not a secret. Like you said in the beginning, we've been dealing with this for generations now. So let's talk about it.
And it's demonstrated that people see it and aware of it by how they're moving. And so I'll leave that there. A good transition point here, Carlos, and thank you for that, is you reflected on the past of Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X. Let's bring it local and talk about like our Mel Kings, our Chuck Turners, our Doris Bunties. Yes, now we can say our, you know, the others are ancestors, but our Marie St. Fleurs. Let's get into the past. You mentioned your dad. You mentioned your mom, who I had the honor of working with. If I were to ask you what Boston's Black power looked like from the period of 1965 to 2000, what word would you use?
I would say emerging. Political. We're talking about political Black power. I would say emerging. I would say it began to emerge when you, for me, obviously reading about more of it in the past, before 1976, or even between 1980 when I'm actually reading. You know, the Mel Kings, the Doris Bunties, having Blacks in the legislature, in the state legislature for the first time, is a growing period. You know, 1983, when the Boston City Council moved to district representation, and you got the Charles Yanceys and you got some of the district representatives, the Bowlings, that started to move the political ball forward and putting Black people in seats that they had not previously held. Now being able to go from organizer in the community to a legislator, to a leader, to an elected leader, started to symbolize our growth in that generation. And that was the baby boomers. Actually, Mel's probably a mentor to the baby boomers. He might actually be from the silent generation where my father was from. But he came up with, you know, much like X and millennials, he came up with the Doris Bunties and the baby boomers after him. Once they start to retire, some of them start to retire, us in Generation X start running for office probably about those early 2000s. Me, 2007, and the only Black man I saw run before me that was close to my age, shout out brother Ego Azidi. Before Ego Azidi ran in 05 against Charles Yancey, I had the same faces and same players, with the exception of maybe when Chuck Turner took the seat from, it was an open seat, but I think it was Garrett Saunders' seat. Garrett Saunders seat at the time.
It was open, yep, because he did decide to run. Yep.
That's when I realized, oh, we don't have to wait for the boomers to retire. We can actually challenge the old guard respectfully. And once Ego did that and kind of lit the fire between that and the powder that my father and mother had laid, I was like, okay, I'm gonna work for a counselor and learn it, and then I'm gonna run for council too. So that was the beginning of me getting into politics. But that was 2007. So we have this. I mean, that's a huge gap. That's almost a 60-year gap you're talking about, from 65 to today. 67.
Well, I was going
to you were born in 65, right? 66, 67. 7 carry the 1.
71.
2. Yeah. Okay. Close.
71. 71.
Right.
But Carlos, we often said, when we look at it, it dips a little bit into the present, but I really want to ensure that the audience that is not aware has a 50,000 foot view of Boston's Black Power. Um, uh, 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 we've often said that some some of the electeds are very different today versus what we saw and observed in the past. What can you name for me in a manner what we would like to see extracted from the past come into today? And it's messing with, the third segment, the future. I'm trying to, again.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. No, I'm with you. Yes, all elected officials. Well, let me start with the first thing you said. You said. I think you said Black Boston may be unaware of the Black
Some,
Power,
yes, some
and
maybe.
so that I want to name that because I'll hold space for it because that in itself becomes problematic when we talk about Black political power. If you are unaware of who's even involved in it, we're not at a very good starting point. So I would encourage people to get familiar. I regularly have to write down the names of how many state reps we have, how many state senators we have, how many city councilors we have, which ones are Black, which ones are Latino, which Latinos identify as Afro-Latino, which ones don't. So to be informed is a good place to start. What I know from the past, my elders, from my time in politics and from now, the difference. Let me start with the similarity. The similarity is that we're all individuals, and that I believe it's incumbent upon us individuals, especially elected leadership, to be able to work together. It's a volunteer job. Nobody appointed you to that job. You actually raised your hand and was like, "Yo, I want it. I think I can fit it." And then you went around telling everybody, "I can fit it. I can fit it." So you asked for that job. It comes with responsibilities, and I think what we saw in the past is a little bit more solidarity around at least working through some conversations to get to a resolve on certain issues, a joint stance where at least maybe not all of them unanimously, but a majority could stand together and say we are for this or we are against this. And now I don't think leadership has had the same patience to work through those difficult conversations or battles. We can be, I think the Royals say it all the time, we can disagree without being disagreeable. You know what I mean? We can argue about an issue all day long, and then tomorrow I can reset and we can be talking about a different issue and we might be on the same page. But I have to be able to get through the difficult conversations if I'm going to lead and represent others. And I don't see it as much as I used to. I don't hear about a Black political task force. I don't hear about the electeds of color meeting on a regular basis and discussing issues from a city council presidency vote to a White Stadium reaction to a P3 reaction to a police violence, a police shooting. I don't hear or see evidence of that. You don't see press conferences, joint press conferences. You don't even see joint press releases for many of the issues that harm our community. So again, I'm not asking for everybody to look the same, but some kind of uniformity in terms of moving in the same direction. And I don't see that now like I used to see it with the team unity in the late 90s, early 2000s, or going back even before that with the Doris Bunties and the Mel Kings and the Charles Yanceys. So I think we are slipping. I think we're losing ground when it comes to Boston's Black Power. And again, just 60 years ago, we were just beginning. So if we are within a 60-year span, we started to gain and already losing, just like similar with our population going from 25% of 600,000 to 20% of 600,000, we're losing power from both sides, from the top and the bottom.
I'm going to note that because the power at the top and the bottom, the coming together of both of those is where I believe the future is. I will, as you were talking, I remember that you said a statement, and I may not repeat it verbatim. In politics, there's no such thing as permanent enemies or permanent friends. Was that something you said before?
Sort of. I mean, and there's some gray area there. I mean, if you tried to hurt me, harm me, hurt my people badly, then we might be permanent enemies. But everything else can fall in that gray area. It's got to be really absolute for me to look at a politician and say, I'm never effing with you again because of what you did.
Now, let me ask you this to close out this particular part, and we'll focus more on how we observe and see things present. By your observation, where you talked about they may have not always agreed to the old adage, we can argue in the room, but when we walk out that door, we're on one accord. You may not support it, but you won't publicly go against it. Do you feel that the former, and I said feel, Do you feel that the former Black leaders prioritize the macro push for equity and kept that as priority to
Nope.
get through when you, okay.
Now I know that sounds like it contradicts what I said earlier. I think they started working diligently around the Black Political Task Force, which wasn't just elected leaders, by the way. There were several community leaders
We're
who
going to
emerge and step up, and there always should be. There has to be that inside-outside balance. What I discovered in my political career, I thought the same thing. I thought the old school, old guard, they did it well. The OGs, they would have their beef, so you never saw it in public. Now, we were just young and weren't paying attention. When I got invited to, several of us got invited to a dinner that was being hosted by then organizer Horace Small. And this had to be like, I don't even know the year. I don't want to quote the wrong year, but there were several of us activists and electeds at this. And the old guard was there too, former electeds. And we got there early. You know, the young ones, we there early. We excited to meet some of our idols, some people we looked up to. Yeah, when they came in, and I'm talking about like these are the Black names in Boston's Black Power from back in the day. They didn't even sit near each other. Some of them didn't even speak. And we were like, yeah, what's going on here? Like there was their beef outside, you know? Come to find out, 1991, when some of them wanted to secede from Boston around Mandela, that created such a rift between them. Some of them never healed it. Now, you're talking about 91. I was 15 years old in 91. I'm sitting with them now in my 30s. 15 years has gone by. Now, luckily, they're not in a position where they have to work to each other, but they're not even speaking. So just imagine how much more power we could have had if they were still speaking or working together or mentoring us Generation Xers or mentoring the next generation after us. Like if we don't have these, if we can bridge these gaps a little faster and heal these wounds a little faster or avoid making them, I think our collective power would be stronger. But the old guard, they're human, just like the current guard, they're human. We have flaws and it needs, sometimes we need pressure inside and outside to keep us in alignment.
Carlos, I'm going to ask you to get us to the point of things present. A little bit of the future. Where is this? Is cyclical. This is a cycle. This is each era has, and thank you for clarifying that you know, some of the people dynamics and things, it's just as you said, we're humans, and so they're going to display themselves even in the work of equity. But we're in a different time, and the cycle has to stop. Where's the off ramp, brother?
In a cycle, if we speak in nerdy, let me get nerdy. In a cycle, there is no off ramp.
But then you gotta make one. You got to.
Then it won't be a cycle anymore. So that's fine. I'm with you. I just want to be clear that in a cycle, there's no off ramp. You just keep going round and round. You have to break the cycle somewhere. Right? You need to create a new one or start shooting in a straight line. So I get what you're saying. I just want to be clear that it ain't always like a cycle. People, sometimes we're designed to be in this position and we're playing our position perfectly. We're disjointed. We're separated. We're not leveraging our collective power. We're not teaching the masses. We're not each one teach one. We're not engaging the constituency. We're not having town hall meetings. We're not using social media to educate our people. We're one foot in the game, 1 foot out. The constituents are the same way. Sometimes we want to watch trash TV, and sometimes we want equity for our people. Well, sometimes they don't match. Sometimes, and I get it, we all have our personal, I got to decompress, I got to get away from this, you have stress, and I talk about all the time. I don't know if the generation before us could escape through social media. Maybe they did have a different escape, but I know that we say we can do both, but we're not doing both. So I don't know which one has to be given up, but clearly both ain't working. So presently, we have the same gap. Presently in Boston, you're losing Black people out of the city at a high rate. You have more elected officials that identify as Black than ever before. Now, some of them are beholden to other elected officials, which doesn't give you the power to fight for equity and things that you would expect. But that's always been part of the game as well. Like, you know, that's why you have phrases like all skin folk ain't kinfolk. So that's not new either. That's a cycle. So we have these levels of things. The problem is we have no baseline and we have no infrastructure. And we don't have willing participants to create the baseline nor the infrastructure. right? And there's a science and an art to it. It doesn't take a high school diploma to organize a block. It doesn't. It doesn't take a high level of education. It takes willpower, and it takes some education. You got to be able to, same way you would be able to collect candy for Halloween, you would have to go door to door, ring a doorbell, leave a flyer, talk to a neighbor, and keep it pushing. It's almost the same. Your stump speech is a little longer than trick or treat, but that's all it is. But we don't have a population that's willing to do it. We don't have a leadership that can educate them on why it's important for them to do it. We don't believe it in ourselves. We are some super individualism since the 80s. As we grew up in the 80s, we feel like I got mine, you better get yours. I'm taking care of me and mine. You and yours is over there. Don't tell me and mine how to do this. So community has become geographical, if that.
Territorial, if you will.
More, that's even better, territorial, where I'm just carving out my piece of the pie. I don't even see beyond my blinders. I don't even see my neighbor. What neighbor? I don't even know my neighbor's name. I don't know their last name. I don't know how many kids they got. I don't know what country they come from. I don't know nothing about my neighbor. That's not community. And you can't build power, political or any other civic power, without having that kind of information. If we're not going to interact, if we don't have a personal relationship, then we don't have no relationship.
This lends to a little bit of how we're going to wrap up in the end is, as you talked about the power of from and we use these conditioned terms, top to bottom. The residents aren't on the bottom. They should really be at the top. And if you're serving, the more of a servant you become, the more that you ascend into leaderful roles, you really should take more of the
I get what you're saying. No, I get what you're saying.
I was trying to say me, so I'm not making you
right. And I'll clarify for me when I say, just so people know, when I say top and bottom, I think about the bottom is the foundation of a structure or a pyramid. It is stronger collectively. It might be in a lower position on your view line, but it is stronger collectively than anything at the top. If we can get the foundation right, you can continue to build things. You could tear the top off, put a new top on, change the third floor, fourth floor, fifth floor. But if the foundation ain't right, it don't matter how many floors you put on it, that's coming down sooner or later. I forget it's morning time. I can't cuss yet.
You can cuss. You can cuss. And while you preaching, you can cuss. Cussing preacher. I'm so
cussing preacher. That's gonna be my AKA.
Listen, because you look at the pyramid. Everything is there. So I won't reiterate so we can take advantage of your time. Everything that you talked about, the cycle doing what it did to us, it resulted in what I said and been saying, that the present facade, the present face of some of the things you named, though the former generation, I just want to say, seemed to be a little more impactful in situations like things present. For me, 2 weeks ago yesterday, today's Wednesday, 2 weeks ago last Monday, with all this stuff with P3, I sat there and I said, who can convene? Who can go knock on the fifth floor door and say, no, stop?
What'd you come up with? Because if we're being truthful about it, when you say who can convene, so there's a difference between who can convene community, right? A leader elected that can convene community and have a town hall meeting to talk about an issue, to build consensus and hear both sides, right? Versus a leader that gets a phone call into the fifth floor. We say the fifth floor, inside we're talking about City Hall, to the mayor's office, folks. So anybody could call the mayor, and it's not just about Mayor Wu. You could always get a call in, and you could always get a call back. That's just professional courtesy. Thomas Menino is going to give you a call back. It might take you a couple of days, depending on where you are on his Santa list, but when he called you back, he's going to either agree with you or disagree with you. And if he called you or disagree with you, you had to figure out what your next move is. So it's easy to get a call in. I don't think that's necessarily leadership right there. It's what you do when you get a call and you disagree with the mayor and you think what the mayor's doing is bad for the community or bad for a large segment of the community. What is then your reaction, especially if it has to do with Black people? Black or brown people, I open up the tent, right? So that's where they struggle. That's where we've always struggled. One of the reasons why I put together the group affectionately called the Electors of Color was to combat a mayor, not personally Thomas Menino, but any mayor. If there are 12 of us that represent 200,000 people, we can leverage a power together that he couldn't at that time. I know I can, if I walk into Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, and I can't convene more people than the mayor of Boston, unless the mayor comes from that same community, speaking the way I speak and about the issues that I know are important to my people, then something is off with our power. You know what I mean? Like, you're telling me that, and I'll make it personal here. If the day an Asian woman from Chicago can come into my community, the community where I grew up, without me or somebody that has the lived experience, and tell me that they know better than me about how to create equity and empowerment for Black people, I refuse. I would refuse if it was Mayor Michelle Wu. I would refuse if it was Mayor Martin J. Walsh. I would refuse if it was Thomas M. Menino. And if it was Mayor Kim Janey, I would defer because she is Black, grew up in Roxbury, and I would at least ask to be a collaborator. But the other three, you have to come, if you're serving Black people in equity, well, you better be working in partnership with some Black people and about equity, and we should be able to see that. And it's not just them standing with you, it's you standing with them when shit gets rough too. And I don't see a lot of that currently, and I haven't seen it in a while. Now, I'm not just laying that at Michelle Wu's feet, but it could go back a couple of mayors where I haven't seen that.
This is the interesting piece, Carlos, that nothing about this is new. Nothing about frustration with the snow removal is new. Nothing about the cyclical process of a system that is designed to.
I'm just laughing that we get caught up on snow removal. Like, yeah, it's a lot of snow, people. It's a lot of snow. It takes a lot of trucks. It's a lot of skinny streets. Let's stay focused. There's bigger issues.
We're going to stay focused on.
Yeah, we grew up in Boston. Come on.
Anyway. So, oh, Jesus. See, the snow got me sidetracked. Bring me back.
See, you started talking about all that white fluffy stuff, and you got distracted from the depth of this Blackness. Yeah, we're talking about how it was cyclical, and this stuff is designed to happen, and we're right back in that spot.
And so let's name some things. You talked about, Mayor Wu, and we have to really cite the fact that through articulation, through some, and the biggest thing, and I don't want to get stuck here, but a lot of
I got time this morning.
Okay, let's go. When people would say things like, "Oh, Michelle don't care about Black people" and stuff like that, my number one thing was get your guns Excel sheet. When you talk about voices and standing in power, and I'm going to bring this back. If that's the internal, with that internal now gone, the external, I believe, becomes so much more important because it's now the example you said about Kim Janey.
Yeah.
Shagun, we didn't have any issue with Shagun because we knew he grew up here. He knew the struggle. He had a past. And so now to bring it back to what I was saying, I don't see, and I have not seen. And it doesn't take away, just like people don't know what you and I do in the background. We don't know what other people's phone calls, fussing they're doing in the background.
Yeah.
But what's going on in the back? I felt this. What's going on in the background has not demonstrated itself in a public come up for Black equity. And not yet.
Yeah. So I agree with you. And I think I know where you're kind of taking us with this. So yes, if you're not, for me, former Bostonian, part-time Bostonian now, if you're going to lead me, I need to believe in you. Whether you're Black or not, I need to believe in you. I keep telling people, like, a lot of politics is about an energy exchange. When people say Michelle Wu doesn't care about Black people, right? That's the old Kanye and George Bush thing. They've said that for a reason, right? Either a policy passed, she did something that they don't like, or that made her seem like she doesn't really care. So one of the ways you care, if you're not part of a group, if you're not part of a community, is you learn about that community. You learn from your own research, your own curiosity. You learn by talking to ambassadors and people that have high standing in that community. You learn about the history of that community, the cares and the concerns of that community. So let's say that, I'll use Mayor Michelle Wu in this instance. Let's say that she's had opportunity to do that as her 10 years in city council from 2013 when she was elected to when she became mayor. And let's say that in her first term, that it was well reflected. You had some young Black people from the community that were well represented in the administration. That's a good sign. It doesn't mean everything is going to go right, because they're people too, and like we all Black differently. But how often
Wait, say that again.
we all Black differently.
Clip
You know
that.
what I'm saying? Like some of us have all watched Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society. Some of us have not. And it doesn't change whether our Black experience, so we all Black different. I like to give people that grace. But when it comes to us as a group, there's some historical things that we can all agree on, and maybe we should have all watched Roots. Maybe we haven't all, but maybe we should all watch Roots. How we continue to interact, or how she continues to interact, like that to me. So you hire some people from our community, good start to a 4-year administration. To me, when I'm evaluating through a lens of Blackness on power, it's how do you do this every time? If you're going to do it, if you have an issue in the Black community, did you come to Black leadership? Do you have it in your shop? Did you step outside of your shop to hear about it first before you made a decision? Did you collaborate? Did you show the respect that you research if you know we're a collaborative people and we've opened our tent as Black people to embrace people of color? If you know that you're a woman of color and the reason why you're mayor, you're the first mayor woman of color elected, is because of the work that Black people first have been doing in Boston for decades and generations, right? If you're aware of this, if you campaign on equity for Black and brown people, and as an Asian woman, consider yourself a brown person. Now, I don't expect you to people of color like me, because as a young Asian millennial growing up in Chicago, your lifestyle is different than me as a young Black man of Latino descent growing up in Roxbury. However, when we're talking about Roxbury, I expect a Chicagoan to check in with the Black elected or leadership of Roxbury before making Roxbury decisions. And that includes your in-house people and the people outside of your building and outside of your administration. And when that's not being done, I expect the Black Power block to react and say, hey, we were left out. Hey, you didn't talk to us. Hey, you're disrespecting Black leadership. Or, hey, she did talk to us. We all agreed on this and we're moving forward. That's the kind of conversation I don't see and hear about displayed publicly, whether around P3 or a White Stadium or elected school committee or moving in O'Brien. Any of these issues that come up, it's the quiet fifth floor conversations, but not the public show that we see. So it leaves it in question for me on both sides.
This is a good segue based on our brother Mingo's. And Mingo, I see you trying today.
I didn't bring my reader glasses. You got to give me these comments. Okay. I got it on my phone. I can't see none of them. Let me get in here close. Nope.
Mingo's doing his little thing. He's not being too bad, but he makes a good point here that I want to, and similar to Shagun, and I don't know if Mingo means this as complimentary or negative, but look at the advancement of Black and men boys. As a former commissioner, I was going to say Rep. Henriquez, as a former commissioner, I knew what we accomplished in the budget, and that office in itself being codified under this administration, which was, with city council, of course, but there have been things that the Black male advancement office is doing. And so just in that, and when you talk about, I think the word you said was either balance or confuse, you have Shagun, you have something like that, but then you have the lack of demonstration of a commitment to prioritize the long-term generational decreasing of the racial wealth gap.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I said you have to continue to evaluate and judge it on every decision, right? Like, so you can have something good. You can open up an OPAT for equity. You can open up a Black men's advancement, which I think was actually under Marty Walsh. She might have codified it, but you can have those things and they look good, right? They look good. And I'll say they do good. We don't know how far the reach is. Maybe it needs to get scaled up a lot based on how many actually Black men and boys we do have in Boston. But that doesn't mean you're going to turn around and make a decision when it comes to $100 or $200 million, and it's going to be the right decision for Black boys and Black men if Black boys and Black men aren't at that decision-making table. So if a Shagun Idowu is not at that table to talk about P3, if the state rep China Tyler is not at that table to talk about P3, if the state senator Liz Miranda is not at that table to talk about P3, if Councilor Culpepper is not at that table as the city councilor for District 7 to talk about P3, you're already in trouble. You can now, if they don't know housing and development, then we're in further trouble. If the constituents of their constituents in that community doesn't know the importance of this development and how much money it could bring them or cost them, then we're all in trouble. And so it all links. And every time you have a break in that chain of power, it gets worse and worse. And the bottom, which is supposed to be our foundation, weakens. You start to let that water run down. Now that bottom crack. Now the building's starting to lean a little bit. And so we've been leaning. You've been seeing Black and brown leadership, especially males. It's not a hidden. We keep having this conversation, and the men have been kind of pushed back. Like, don't you dare question. Women are finally getting in. Black men, don't you dare question leadership. Okay.
We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can promote, protect Black women.
When's the last time you had a Black man that represented the entire city of Boston? An elected position that wasn't a district attorney and wasn't a sheriff. Did not involve locking Black men in cuffs in jail.
At large last was it Bruce Bowling? What was his position? No, he was on state level.
He was District 7. No, Bruce was District 7 councilor. Yep.
He was District 7.
The last brown man I remember is Felix. I'm sorry, Henry now. Henry now. I got to remember I don't have a good working relationship with everybody. But a Black man of non-Latino descent, right? Going back to that original, right? That foundational Black America. It's a point to people. Now, I don't know how big a deal that is in terms of where that person is from, that man is from, right? Whether it's a Henry Santana, whether it's a Brian Worrell, they both have Caribbean ancestors, right? It really comes down to, are you willing to support a Black man like Brian in leadership? And if not, why not? For me, he has lineage similar to mine. Like, there's Jamaican in his past, there's Jamaican in my ancestry. You know, he even rocks a salt and pepper beard. He don't have as much up top, but he even rocks. So there are reasons that we don't want to talk about that hold us back from supporting people that look like us, from doing the labor of helping people that look like us. And I'm sure it's different for every person. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a Boston thing. We're very cliquish. We don't like to see our own shine without us shining in it. And I keep telling people, like, there's room in the spotlight for more than one person. And if everybody gets their own spotlight and there's 5 spotlights on stage, the whole stage lights up. We ain't got to fight for one spotlight. I know Boston is generational. We don't think like that. And, you know, we'll big up Bobby Brown before we big up a new artist that's coming up today. It's weird, but that's what we do. And until we fix both the bottom level of our foundation and the top level, like, you have to build a scaffolding around this whole project, put the curtains up, start rebuilding while people aren't watching, and then you're going to have to unveil it at the end, and they be like, oh, that's what they was doing back there. The whole thing, Boston's Black Power, the whole thing needs a reworking.
And that is the thing that scares me. I think in this in this time, Carlos, with the lack of what you referenced to in the past and where we are in the present, I'm very concerned about our future.
You should be.
We
can't even collaborate. You can't even just from being in this space that you're in now, how difficult it is to collaborate. You know, by the amount of guests that you have on, how many people, based on the guests you've had on the last 5 years, going on 6 now, are doing very similar work, but doing it in a silo.
Oh.
And why do we? But yet we continue, even though they can see your other guests, even though they can call you and say, "Hey, James, put me in touch with such and such. I'm doing it in Dorchester. They're doing it in Mattapan. I just want to build with this person, see how we can support each other, reach more Black people." We haven't even got over that hurdle. So I'm not comfortable just beating up on just the electeds for doing the same thing that we doing on the grassroots level.
It goes to your point that we're all human, but Carlos, are we right that when someone volunteers, raises their hand, and asserts themselves as a leader, We buy in. We presume they're going to stick to everything they said. There is some.
I don't subscribe because you raised your hand, you get to be leader. You get to speak out loud in front of the class because you raised your hand. But if you step up and get in front of the class and make yourself look like a fool, we ain't calling on you no more. Go sit back down. And that's the part we're not doing.
Real facts, I agree. My thing I was saying there, are we as on the bottom of the pyramid, the foundation, the constituents, the residents, are we right in looking up? If we have that expectation and you said things, we presumed that you was going to stick with what you said. And this is not just electeds. These are community leaders. These are organizations that in the past have been able to.
I hear what you're saying. They're still humans, though. Yes. You can look up to leadership and have expectations of leadership. But like in any relationship, whether dating or not, one, they should have been communicated clearly at the beginning. And two, reevaluated when somebody steps over that boundary.
And that's on.
And we have to look at the mirror and we have to look left and right. So I can't expect my elected to have a town hall meeting if I'm not going to tell my 5 neighbors about that town hall meeting. If I'm not going to take a flyer and post it on my Facebook page, but I'm going to complain that there's no meetings or that nobody showed up to the meeting, then what are we doing? And it's easy to say no, nothing ever changes. We're stuck in this cycle. But we've been saying for the last 5 years, stop complaining on Facebook and actually call an elected official. And yet and still, snowstorm comes, people are habitual. They just fall into behavior that their habit. Oh, Mayor Menino would never let the snow fall like this. Yes, he would. It's nature. Chill out. You know how many lights? Oh, if they just paid the blacker people to plow the snow, it would be clear already. Then do it. Then get out there and create the pressure for them to hire. Go find the insurance companies that insure the plows. Go find the person that's going to sell the plows for cheap. Go find the person that can go to the auction and get the snow trucks. Domingos knows all these people. Call Domingos and ask them where you get the snow plow, where you get the snow trucks. Get the group ready. Get their names organized. Send their names to the chief of economic development. Send them to the mayor. Send them to your black elected saying, hey, we got 150 licensed insured drivers that are ready for contracts. We'd like to figure out how much you're paying outside of non-Boston residents, and we'd like you to reallocate that money back into the city, into these drivers who are all licensed that we already checked out. But that takes labor and effort, and often unpaid labor and effort. And I get it. Nobody wants to do unpaid labor and effort. But in this community, in the black community, we've always survived off collective unpaid labor and effort to help each other.
Yes. The village model. And
so if we're going to depart from that, please let me know, because I need to stop all this pro bono work I've been doing. I need to send you and some others an invoice immediately.
We're not going to go there. We're not, because I could send out a few too, brother. So this brings us to, and I'll be honest. I said to you on the phone earlier, nothing you're going to say in the next few minutes is going to be new. Nothing you're going to say has not been said prior to Java on your own platform, on Spark, on PSA. Where and how do we change this? And is P3 the current model of hearing no further?
Like the linchpin? No, P3 is definitely not the linchpin.
Well, what I mean by that is it itself is the undercurrent of the charter.
I get what you're saying. Is it the turning point? Is it what wakes us up? And I'm saying no, absolutely not. And I say that in all due respect. And this is why I say it. We're talking about black political power. That project is not connected enough to that foundation of community, right? It's not connected enough in the way where the community knows what it entails, knows how it'll benefit them and others in their community, to the point where they can be organized, rallied, and activated to take political action around it. That process has come and gone. If you did this, community organizing is like, it's the same over and over. If you spend the time to educate people and empower them, they will feel good about it. Nobody left being educated and feeling stronger, like, oh, I hate that person, just made me feel good about myself and taught me all these new things. No, you always get an endorphin dump from that. You always feel good about it. So the more people you educate and the more people you empower to be powerful on their own without you, not creating dependency, creating independence
or gatekeeping, simply, sorry.
the stronger they become, that foundation gets stronger. Now you're heating the bricks and making them stronger. That part everybody can do, but nobody wants to do. You don't have to be elected to do that part. You don't have to be elected to teach your neighbor about something. You don't have to be elected to go to a community meeting. Everybody can do that part. So until we decide that that's what we want to do, it's the action is the linchpin. It's not going to be like I don't want it to be an issue, because an issue just means we're reacting to it, and that's not infrastructure and that's not sustainability, right? If it takes a George Floyd, if it takes a death for us to it'll galvanize us in the moment, but I don't know if it'll sustain us in longevity. So I'm looking for the infrastructure and the kind of leadership that even if a generation dies off,
the model
it becomes a culture. The models become culture in that community, and people continue to do it.
How do we do it, Carlos? And again, I'm a little frustrated. Like, I don't want you to send me another invoice for something I already quote unquote paid you for. But we find ourselves, because we care, because we have the knowledge, skills, and abilities, you a little bit more than me. It just, there's something within us that just won't let us rest in this paid labor of love. But what do we do, Carlos? We had Ronald dump 1. We had COVID. We have Ronald dump 2. What do we do?
So I hear your frustration. I want to acknowledge that, because I think that frustration is similar to the frustration a lot of us are feeling. Black men, black women, wherever you are in this, you're feeling some stress. So I want to acknowledge that. And I also want to challenge it that, again, the shift has to come from internal, not external. It doesn't matter what we've had presidents that had slaves. So the guy you call president is not too far a departure. We've had racist policy. We have dog whistling mayors and governors and presidents. That part's not new. So again, we as a people can weather that, and have been conditioned to weather it. It has to be a shift internally. You have to feel like, I have to do something different. I have to feel like, I need to run for this office. I need to mentor these boys. I need to teach these girls self-defense. I need to coach this track team. It has to start with what I'm going to do for the community, not what's happening to the community. It's what I can help my community with. I can't see none of these comments. I need my reader.
I'll tell you, Milton, when you talked about, this is who I texted you about earlier. Gatekeepers can't stop nothing when you're chosen by the community.
Exactly.
And exactly. I sound like you here. How many? Let me get Carlos's voice. When you remember, like when you was a kid and you wanted to get into that yard, what did you do? You jumped the fence.
You jumped the fence, or you found somebody in the fence to open the fence for you. You found a way. Shout out to Milton, man. I love the work you're doing, brother. I know you from distance, from people that know you, but I love the work that you're doing and building community. But yeah, that's what I mean about community organizing. Like, gatekeepers, it would be nice if everybody got inside the door and held the door open and was like, yo, come on. But that's not how it's ever worked either. Sometimes you got to sneak a few people in the door, and then security's like, hey, and you close the door, and then you go over to the window and you crack the window open. And then you get a few people through the window, hey, and you know what I'm saying? And you move to the next one. And if we really believe we're under attack in this country, which we always have been, let's act accordingly. Sometimes we got to be sneaky. Sometimes we got to be private. Sometimes we got to be loud. But we have to be in action. We have to be.
That's the part, Carlos, that I am. This is an action. Information, trying to attempt to mobilize and galvanize people. But then there's no, like, I would love to be able, Malia's doing a monthly meeting. And again, we're not aware of everybody, but it's somewhat, no disrespect to the name that I just mentioned, it's somewhat siloed, and it just it I
And the
just
difference between the community choosing you and you self-appointing. And I'm not saying one is good or one is bad, right? There's self-appointed leaders that rise to the moment, they step in the moment, and they're exactly what the situation called for. That's different than a Milton, right? That's different than someone who grew up in that community. The community has seen that person since they were a child and lived with that person as family through good, bad, and indifferent,
yep.
and chooses that person to lead. Hey, when the conversation goes, we want you to get up on that stage. We want you to call the mayor. We want you to call the city councilor. Hey, you come over and say a few words. That's being chosen by a community or elected or point. You know what I'm saying? But all of those need to be leading at the same time. What I'm saying is the community leader does not defer to the elected official simply because they're elected. And the elected official doesn't automatically assume leadership without talking to the community. It's supposed to be a symbiotic relationship. And when it's not, there should be beef. And I don't mean like beef, we come into blows or talking ish about each other, but there should be a conflict that is worked out until we reach a resolution.
AKA,
we don't just act like you're going to slap me and the relationship is going to continue on. Every Valentine's Day is going to be the same. No, something got to be done before to address that you slapped me. Otherwise, this relationship can't continue on. That's where we are with that community piece. Like it has to be community based, otherwise it doesn't stand.
Frederick Hampton, who a name I'm sure you've seen before. I'm going to read it to you. We need to build Black systems outside of city government.
Exactly.
I agree 100%, because in my mind, I'm making a quick statement, and there's so much work and labor and organizing and hours and phone calls and emails and meetings there. But this thing of us having a system in place to fight the system, so I want to make sure that we walk away with what it is that we need to do.
Said this so many times. Now I'm feeling your frustration.
Because go ahead.
We need. I'm gonna break the weeds down. I hate speaking in French. I'm speaking to the Frederick Hamptons, right? Did I say his name right? Fred
Yes,
Hampton.
Yep.
Those that are in between, right? They're active and looking to get more active. That's what I'm speaking to. You have to, and it takes a little bit of ego. You have to let your ego out. You have to dive into your constituency. And James, you and I have been talking about it. You have a constituency. If you're active and you're from community, you have a group in your community that follows you. You're probably that man or that woman that everybody comes to fix something, to get advice about something, to figure out where something is, right? You're that person. You're already AKA the city councilor, AKA the state rep, AKA the mayor of the block. What I want you to do is to embrace that, act like it, and grow it. Because I realized talking to somebody last night, like when I started to get away from it is when I and get some young people around you. Because young people will keep you dreaming and keep you active. Only us old folks are happy with just talking. We talk and then we'll sigh later on like, oh, that was such a heavy conversation today. Young people be like, nah, we didn't go outside. We didn't do nothing. But embrace your constituency and speak to them and work with them on a regular basis. Create a flyer and put it under their doormat and put your phone number on it or put your email on it. Talk to them, organize them. Let's create little good feelings between neighbors first and foremost. If it's 10 people, 20 people, anyone can do this of any age. And you're just going to scale that up. It's okay to be concerned about what the president's doing, but you got to talk to your block about what the president's doing. Community has become this online thing where we look for, is that an echo? Are they saying what I'm saying? Let me go over there. Let me go over there. No, right where you are is where you have to be talking about TPS for Haitian immigrants. Right where you are is where you need to be talking about how many millions of dollars P3 might pass by a Black developer and those that hire Black people. Right where you are is where you have to talk about youth violence. Like if you're not talking about it on your porch to your neighbors, who are you talking to?
Social media. I want to, because this brother, I see so much potential in what he's doing. Carlos, he said here, I'm doing the work, and then he says, I'm waiting on everyone else to wake up. What's your response there to this young?
I've been there. There's so many. I'm actually intrigued by this brother. I actually want to meet him. I told you to set up a Zoom call or something for it.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's a tough question. Sometimes you have to continue to move on, and some of them will catch up. Some of them will wake up. Some of them you can't. What did Morpheus say? Some people are so deep in it that if you wake them up right now, the shock of the reality will kill them dead.
Yep.
Something to that effect. You can't wake
Yep.
everybody up. But I feel what you're saying, that the desire is in us to like put everybody on, wake everybody up. Let's get it going. You have to build around those that are willing to build and move with you. And it is painful because sometimes you realize that's only for a reason or a season. Sometimes they want to stand next to you because the light is on you, the grant money's on you, the front row appearances are on you. And that's fine. Use it for that time being. Sometimes they want to just grow with you, and that's your long term. But you have to just engage who's with you now. And if you got 20 with you now, you're solid. You're solid. I could teach you how to. You could take over your neighborhood with 20 people.
I've seen. What did we say before? We've seen people win campaigns with 10 people.
I've won a campaign with 10 people.
I wasn't
boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. 20 feet, 10 people on a regular basis.
This morning, slapping them fans when we talk about boots on the ground.
So what I'm saying is, if I can get elected with, we got to understand our power. Then you can lobby somebody. You can move your community to a certain direction. Whether it's just something as simple, I started getting my street cleaned. My first boots on the ground wasn't to get, you know what I mean? It was how many brooms we have? 6. Okay. I'm gonna do it in front of my house. My father was making me do it anyway, but let me start in front of my house. I can control this block. The neighbor sees it. I got extra broom for you if you want to do yours. Now there's 2 of us doing it. Now the third person, what y'all doing? We got these extra brooms. How much that cost? Oh, you can use mine. Don't worry about any cost right now. Now we have a date every year where we're cleaning the block. You see what I'm saying? And now the block looks a little cleaner. And quality of life changes.
People look forward to that. You're building community. You're supporting potentially a local Black business, going to get the brooms, unless you're going to Home Depot. Where you're getting the brooms from. I'm sure that somebody on the porch bought y'all water. Somebody put something on the grill.
That's the community work.
It's the community work. And this has become such a trendy word that I believe has lost its real essence of what it means. But you're talking about organic grassroots.
Yeah. You don't get to skip no steps.
And that doesn't change.
If you do skip a step when you're building, where's Domingo's? Domingo's still on. If you skip a step while you're building, you weaken the structure of the whole building. Eventually, where you shortcut is going to fail. So if you skip the community organizing level somehow, and it happens, right? Somehow you came out at the right time, you got the right name, you popped off, you became an elected leader. And now everybody has these expectations of you, but you ain't never organized in your life. You couldn't even get the fellas to go to the same club you wanted to go to. You couldn't get them to go to the movie you wanted to go to when you wanted to go to the movies. You couldn't get them to decide whether they were going to play 21 or 3-on-3 half court. You've never been a leader in your life, but now you find yourself in this elected position because life be life. Eventually, that leadership is going to fall. Either you're going to learn and catch up, or you're going to fall because you don't have the foundation to make that change with community. You don't have 10 community block leaders to check in with. You don't have a Fred Hampton to say, "Oh, what y'all doing today? I'm gonna come through, kick it with y'all, help y'all clean the block or that playground that y'all got." And then so the Fred Hamptons can be like, "Yo, that was real. That was mad real for that dude just to come build with us. Why he do that? Just because we're doing good things and it attracts good people." Like
and it empowers them, as you said, to see that they can, because he can say, okay, now that there's trust there, and Fathers on the Move is also talking about trust when it comes to these dynamics and relationships. Excuse me, but when they see that demonstration, that small thing, that quote unquote feel good, which is fine, we're humans, we should be able to feel our accomplishments. But then he can also say, hey, I need you to do me a favor. I need 10 people to call 311 within a 15-minute time frame and report this address. Bells and whistles are going to go off on 311 that we just got 10 calls within 15 minutes. And so that's some of that power. Mingo, I'm going to say something to you. While you state a lot of facts.
Come on, you got to read that out loud. You know I can't see that.
I am. Sorry, Carlos. Downtown doesn't like that community coming together.
Who cares?
So the
Yeah, who cares?
Mingo jumped the gate, dog. Like
They don't like when South Boston comes together. They don't like it when anyone comes. Power behaves in a very, I'm about to get super nerdy again. Behaves in a very specific manner. Power does not share. Power does not say, you know what, I got too much power. Let me shave off a little bit of power, sprinkle some over there, sprinkle some over there. Power does not give up power. Power only collects more power and then discharges it to do what it wants to do. Either grab it or watch it. But to complain about power, it's like complaining about lightning. Like, it's gonna strike. Either you're insulated or you're exposed. It doesn't matter what they like. Like I didn't care what Thomas Menino liked, and this is no disrespect to Thomas Menino. I cared what my community wanted and what I was gonna do for that. I didn't care what Chuck Turner liked. I thought I had a different methodology and that I could bring something different to my district. I didn't have to disrespect anybody I disagreed with. I could say I think I offer something better and different, and that's it. And I'm going to go reach for the power. I didn't expect this whole generational torch passing. That's not how it plays. It sounds good. Chuck didn't pass the torch to me. I think he was upset at me for challenging him. He passed the torch to Tito. I'm okay with that. That's just the way the game goes. It's power. Ain't no rules to this ish. Ain't no fair. Well, you know, I'm supposed to be in line next. I ran against you twice. What am I gonna say? I ran against you twice and thought I could beat you. Try to take you out your seat. Why wouldn't you pass it to me? That would sound crazy. Power does not do favors.
To your point, we're human, and just right, wrong, or indifferent. Somebody, quote unquote, comes against you or whatever. It does put a little, you know, your shoulder go up a little bit. That's
I got to keep reminding you, because you'd be like, oh, the mayor should just be working for equity. Why? Her equity looks different than your equity. She ain't James Hills from Heath Street. She Michelle Wu from you don't even know what street.
Carlos.
I'm just saying in terms of how we know people, right? We know each other through our behaviors, through our actions. Or if we know where you come from, we can go back and do a little bit of research like, oh, you came from a hard scrabble working class neighborhood. We don't even know that about half of each other. Boston's a city of 600,000 people.
Plus, yep.
Plus. We, blacks, browns, fail to even organize amongst ourselves and our neighbors. So before we start talking about downtown and what downtown wants and doesn't want, we should check ourselves. Until we're organized in Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, East Boston, some areas of Hyde Park and Rosendale, let's get our own shit together, and then we can talk about what downtown likes or doesn't like. It won't even be important by that time. But what I know about equity is that every neighborhood by law has the same amount of voting age population, right? Roxbury got the same voting age population as Austin Bright.
Oh, yes.
Voting age population. People that are over the age of 18 that live in this area. So politically speaking, just on terms of a vote, you have as many votes potentially as every other district. As West Roxbury and South Boston. Fair to say, you with me so far?
Yes, I got you now. Yep.
Okay, so if Roxbury, we'll use Roxbury and South Boston. We'll use it. Let's get black and white with it. And I mean black and white with it. We'll use Roxbury as black. We'll use South Boston as white. We'll talk politics and power. Black's always been at the bottom. The Irish, a few shades above us. I ain't getting into Irish slavery and indentured servitude, not the same as chattel slavery. They were punished by the WASPs, the Protestants, for being Catholic when they got here. They were treated badly. Sooner or later in Boston, a lot of the laws about liquor license and closing on Sundays, and even the police transport vehicle that picks you up when you get unruly is named after a slur. It's called a paddy wagon because of the Irish.
Yep.
Right?
From the Brahmins.
But eventually, these working class people got together in their neighborhoods and they started organizing. And they get
people elected onto the city council.
They got people elected. They got a mayor. They got councilors. They got at-large councilors. They start creating jobs. They start creating a pipeline immediately. They're not just happy having the electors of non-color. the uncolored electeds, they're creating pipelines of jobs. The MBTA is well known to be a pipeline from those communities. The Thomas Menino Convention Center, you had the new executive on yesterday. Everybody knows that 90% of the jobs in that building, the residents reside in the South Boston zip code.
Or outside of Boston. Yep.
In a South Boston zip code. And I'm not knocking it. What I'm saying is their leadership has been so thoughtful that as they were getting in, they were creating pipelines for their foundation to get in.
The union, the city hall
right.
positions, elected positions, cabinet. Come
on. Here's the difference. And this is something I saw young. There's a difference. And I saw this partially from working for Michael Flaherty. And then I saw the mirrors in my neighborhood, right? Now, I was already hiring kids from my neighborhood because that's just the neighborhood I'm from. That's what we do. But then I'm hiring them at Copy Cop, Kinko's, and things like that before I got into politics. I get into politics and I see these pipelines they're creating, and I'm like, oh, I need to start stashing people away too. Because what they're doing, they're not just stashing their high-level execs. They're getting their GEDs and high school diploma people into jobs that can buy houses and send children to college. They interrupted generational wealth and interrupted generational trauma. So I said, let me start getting people into jobs, average people from my community that I know, obviously, and can vouch for. But you get 30 or 40 people in to a well-paying job, you're changing crime in your neighborhood. You're changing the businesses in your neighborhood, the economy of your neighborhood. You're changing the stress on that family. Hopefully, you're making that family grow more positively and that they're less stressed about bills. They can plan their future. This is the level of organizing that they've been doing for generations. You could go to the Boston Convention Center today and you'll see the disparity in hiring. And I'm not mad at them. Take care of your tribe. I just use it as a lesson of what we're not doing and what we don't ask for. I ask the mayor for a certain amount of jobs every summer. I need jobs for the park, for my quote unquote knuckleheads who ain't ready to be in a shirt and tie in.
Yep.
I need entry level for the shirt and tie crew. I need middle level for my college graduates. I need it. I need 10 for this, 20 for that, 30 for that. And I want to feed this in every year. We are not creating that type of infrastructure. We're not making those types of asks from power. And I think it's because we don't really believe we have power, because we don't exercise it. And if you don't exercise a muscle, it fatigues and withers away. And then you don't believe that you have it. So when you have to lift something heavy, you're like, oh, we can't lift that shit. We're going to need the help. We're going to need a lot of help. We need the mayor. That's whose help we need. Now the answer is right there in the community.
Tanya Anderson said something that a little bit crushed me along the lines when somebody told me you're not going to be able to save every youth. I was like, what you mean?
You can't.
She said that inside isn't the way, the real change that needs to happen. The power doesn't come from within the inside. To your point about, we're conditioned that it's just the electeds and whatever. And if nothing else, that viewers and folks are going to go back and watch and for good or whatever, if folks are going to go back and watch, if you walk away with nothing, I guess to your last point is maybe we're not, Carlos says elementary is deep. Maybe we haven't galvanized it because that bottom tier doesn't know. So this is why we give the stop sign. I'll be honest, I'm sitting up here and I'm looking at my printer and I'm like, I still got mounds on my street. So do I print out 50 8.5 by 11s and walk up the right side of Bailey, walk down the left side? I didn't mean to say where I live, Jesus. And tell people that tomorrow at 3 or today at freaking 2 o'clock, please call 311 and report that there are snow mounds in front of your home. Everybody did. Now that's simple.
Right.
But if everybody, so we're going to do a case study. If everybody did that on my street, people are going to either, if they see me or if they do it, they're going to be, well, who's that dude? I seen him in the red car and whatnot, but who is this? And then what is he doing? Then if an issue comes up, they're going to be like, hey, can I ask you something? How do we've been talking, we see what you did with the snow. How did we get a stop sign in the middle of Bailey? And then, so now when I turn around and say, hey, we also need you to get 5 people to come out. This is an example, and I guess it does, as much as we talked about leadership, Carlos is
You
going to
got
get
it. That was it. That's what it
I
is.
know. I
And it's
process
repeated.
real
Continue
time.
to repeat
Yeah.
it. People
But
move. Your neighbors change. The issues change. So that has to be a sustained. And when you can't put the flyers out, I would do 5.5, 8.5. That way you could take an 8.5 by 11
I
and
don't
get
have
two
a
for
look,
one.
look, 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 look. I don't have if I had the thing, I would.
That way
Uh,
you get two.
I don't
We'll get some scissors and fold it. Get that even Steven going. But if you don't do it, someone else has to be trained to fill in the gap. You know what I mean? That service can't stop because you leave or die.
And that's a whole nother conversation because I've always said about this baton in the next generation, the greatest legacy of someone present is how their legacy continues after they're gone. The best way you continue and Manny Tickley talked to me about this. We were talking about intentional succession. He said, James, you can't have no intentional succession if you don't have intentional relationship up until it's time to succeed. You know what I mean? And so it again.
So take that concept and apply that to every level of leader. When you think today of Boston's Black leaders, you can go electeds, you can go appointed, you can go sports coach, you can go civic, you can go any genre you want. You tell me how many of them have a mentee or a successor right behind them. How many Pop Warner coaches have their successor right next to them? How many electeds have a candidate in their office on their staff in the next couple of years? How many mentors are training their mentees on how to be like it's if we're not feeding our own ranks, it's not community. Even the snow piece, calling 311, I think that was an excellent example, right? But what is stopping us from moving the snow on our side streets? If it's impacting all of us and it's urgent, we don't have a community that can come outside and say, yo, Saturday morning, let's all get out here and we're all going to just move this to our yards for the time being.
Oh, you took my power because I was
maybe the mayor has nowhere else to put it on Franklin Park. Maybe they can't get a large enough truck down that street with the heavy machine behind it to be able to fill it because it's just too difficult. So maybe it's just not going to happen. And we don't know enough about snow to make that determination. But we can all throw it in our yards without we have permission, right? The city can't just dump it in your yard because you would sue them. They would damage something, you would sue them. But if all the neighbors are out and say, yo, just throw a little bit in my yard, a little bit in my yard, a little bit in my driveway, then you don't have that issue. We cannot keep waiting for others to be our solutions to our problems. And especially when we're armed to do it ourselves.
Not especially, but I think about a former city councilor that said at Chuck Turner service that the cavalry is not coming. It's just that something for me, Carlos, has this. Oh God, I just heard the thought. Be the change you want to see. It has to start with us and those.
Well, why you didn't like the way that felt? Because they put responsibility on you, right? You felt the weight of responsibility.
I'll be honest. I'm I sit here now and curate and convo and give that, and a part of me is like, I did this 20 some odd years ago, and I'm like,
but you ain't. Did you die? But did you die?
I did not die, and I was not intentional about pulling somebody. I pulled it, just in general. I pulled, young people, but I was not intentional in pulling somebody under my wing as I was learning, with you and others. But it just, because I know what's required. And if I'm going to make a commitment, I got to see it through.
Oh, so this is what we're talking about, though. But see, and I'm not singling you out to pick on you. I'm just saying this is how all of us feel, right? You know what needs to be done, and then you feel the weight of you. First, that hits your mind, then you feel the weight on your back, like, oh shit. If I'm gonna do this, I gotta come correct, which means I gotta do this. I gotta go to 3,000 community meetings. I already been to 10,000 community meetings. Somebody else gonna have to do that shit. I'm not doing it. And then you lean back. But then when that thing pops up that you didn't like, you're like, yo, how come no one's working on this? You can't have it both ways. If we're gonna lean back and chill, then lean back and chill and let P3, let them young millennials worry about P3. Be like your elders, the same elders you were like, some of them didn't do what they were supposed to do. You can be like them. You can just sit back and be like, I'm not gonna offer no help. I'm just gonna complain about these young whippersnappers. Or
repeat the cycle, and that just Jesus.
Okay, so lend a hand when we can no longer do. This is what I came to realization. When we can no longer do, and I don't mean like we're not able, but maybe we're not in that space. Like I can no longer state rep currently. if I'm not teaching, like when they say when you no longer play, you coach. If I'm not teaching or coaching, then I'm not doing anything. If I'm just talking to you, and I'm no knock to talking to you, I think these are great conversations. But if I don't have mentees and I don't have electives that I'm conversing with and helping work through issues and strategize, then I'm not really doing anything. I'm faking it. I'm just a talking head. I'll just, and I used to worry about my legacy, but I figured it out. I figured it out, and you can walk through my neighborhood, and they'll while I'm still alive, they'll tell you what my legacy is, and forever it will be.
Even though you're younger, your legacy lives in part of me. Your legacy lives in part of Stephanie and others that you coach and mentor.
That's where I believe legacy lives. I believe legacy lives in
people,
the actions of people.
Yeah.
And how they move. Like my father's legacy lives within me and all that he coached and all how they move because of his interactions with them. So I know we like to have statues and memorials and things that we feel are permanent. That's our ego needs something to live forever, everlasting. Energy is everlasting, man. If I do something ill and you tell your man's about it, who tells his man's about it, who tells his son, like I knew this dude who knew this dude who knew this dude, this something ill, I'm still alive.
Carlos. Yeah, it's real. It's real. As much as I'm not making light, but the reality of what you said is just like, yeah, that's real. I need to make sure that people know, again, the main thing I guess we're walking away with today is we have the power, and maybe people have not fully tapped into it because they did not know.
We have the potential for the power. You don't really have the power until you've actually wielded it successfully, right? Like I can bench press a certain weight, but until I pick it up. People don't go until I pick it up. It's nice to have the potential power, but flex that one sometimes.
Well, here's another even simpler one. And again, I sometimes hear you when I'm talking. It's similar to the light switch. The light switch doesn't illuminate the room. It got all the electricity there, but until you turn it on, there's no illumination. So hopefully you all today, hopefully we today as a community walk away with the knowledge that we do have the power. We have the potential power, but we have to tap into it with intentionality, with understanding that sometimes holding that power or getting the power from potential to policy, programs, being paid or whatever, it's going to be heavy. But the more that we bring people in to carry it with us, the light load-ins, and as the light load-ins and you get more people, you may be able to add more stuff on
and move faster.
Carlos, Jesus.
Well said.
My shoulder went up.
That'll preach.
Man, I really
or suffer the consequences.
But see,
we forget about that part. Or suffer the consequences. You think, see, people don't live as long as we think we live, right? So Boston's black percentage is down from 25% to 20%. I hated math. That's why I'm in politics. But if I got the calculator out, I could figure out, someone in the comments, figure out what 20% of 600,000 is, right? That number can decline. That number can go to 15%.
Which registers in voter turnout and black voter block.
Oh, yeah. It can continue to go down. I mean, I know people, we've always been here in Crispus Attucks and we used to live in Beacon Hill in the North End and they moved us to Roxbury. Okay. But we don't always have to live here. And I say that twofold. One, you can be moved out or you can become such a small minority that we're not even having conversations about power. We're having conversations about existence.
Oh,
and I wonder it's different for me now, right? Being a part-time Bostonian. I never thought I would ever be outside of Boston. And I secretly hated on people that moved outside of Boston ever since high school. Like, you going to college where? In the South? For what? How long, Calvin said this Friday, I think, how long do we stay loyal or do we allow ourselves to go through certain things because we like our location? Now, I know people are in their communities because their family lives there to a certain degree. The things of comfort exist there to a certain degree. But how long do you hold on to a rope that's burning your hands as it pulls away from you? Because Not everybody can afford to live in Boston. Truth be told, not everybody can afford to live in most of these major cities, period, right? So then if we really open up the books of people that live in Boston, Roxbury, the average Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan household, you would see that most of them are running in the red because too high a percentage of their income goes to housing.
So 120,000, you're saying that, and do that. Well, you said you don't do the math. You
So
said
120,000 people, that number can quickly, you can lose 20,000 in a year, right? 20,000 people can move Brockton's, out of states.
Yep.
The youth number is declining. Youth go off to college. Some of them never move back or off the census. It could easily in 10 years can go down another 5%. And then you're down to 100,000.
Which it can potentially influence our congressional seats.
And redistricting, it means another power block emerges. Maybe the Latino, the non-Black Latino, who knows how that develops? Because now that's a higher percentage. And again, if we're not having the Black Latino conversation, like we avoid the hard work, basically. Let's wrap up like that. If we continue to avoid the hard work, the conversations that are uncomfortable, we want to have them in our life. We want to talk about Black, Latino, Black, Asian. We want to talk about people of color versus Black. We want to have these in silos. Let's start having them publicly. I'm tired of having we got the every anti-hate except for Black. Now, that's not going to make me hate an Asian person or hate a Latino that doesn't identify as Black, but I ain't never seen no end racism commercial during the Super Bowl or no sports events. And even though those sports events are filled by Black men. So until we start to challenge and say, look, I'm looking for my Latino brothers that want to have this conversation. I'm looking for my Cape Verdean brothers that want to have this conversation. I'm looking for my foundational Black Americans that want to talk about colorism, the shit that divides us before we even get downtown. Oh, you don't want to sit with me because what your Cape Verdean grandmother said to you or what your Dominican grandmother said to you, your Dominican grandmother treats the dark-skinned granddaughter different than the light-skinned granddaughter. If we ain't going to have those conversations first before we step outside, then we can't even get downtown. We got to tiptoe around it. Irish and Italians, they got their thing. They got their beef, but they figured that shit out. Menino and the Irish boys in South Boston figured that shit out. Here we are, two of the large, to combine almost the majority of the city for the last 20 years, Blacks and Latinos. Ain't been one town hall community meeting. I haven't even heard any private meetings between this group and that group of how we bridge this gap. Everybody just complaining about how many liquor stores the Fernandez brothers have. I ain't seen nobody else try to open a liquor store. You know, like it's that we keep pointing and going, look what they got, look what they got, look what they got. They don't like us, they don't like us, they don't like us. We don't like us. We don't even like us enough to work with each other, yo. To sit down at the table and be like, I don't like this mother, but I'm still gonna get this meeting done because it means 15,000 people will eat better. You know how many times I sat somewhere with a mother that I didn't like to get way less than 15,000 people fed or something good for them? I done sat there to get a shot to talk to a pretty girl. I done sat with people I didn't like. I definitely could do it if 15,000 residents are on the line, but that's where we are. We ain't there.
Another part of this is
I didn't get none of those comments either.
So I wanted to I put up that they gave you the number, and then what was the one?
120K.
Those numbers, Mingo saying those numbers are dropping, and there's some other folks.
Yeah, they're dropping.
That are in the room, and I don't know. Cole E. Gibson from Reclaim Roxbury, just to plug, their executive director Armani White will be with us Friday at 10 a.m. And he was just citing the fact that where is it, brother? Where did it go? Oh, he said that conversations are happening, or at least we're trying over here at Reclaim, but we need more spaces to hold larger convos and bring more people in the community from across the diaspora in.
Okay,
that's a call to Willie Broderick. That's a call to you know, and I may get us to church, but you know, I mean,
we don't say. That's what I'm saying. We have plenty of spaces. Like this, we got libraries, right? We got a couple of libraries, Uphams,
Bruce Bowling, Dudley,
Bruce Bowling. The elected officials can help get that. Pastors can help get that. And then I think, and I'm not pointing this at Reclaim because I like what Reclaim is doing, but it also takes some promo, right? Like Roxbury residents. When I was on the Roxbury Neighborhood Council, Roxbury residents didn't know what the Roxbury Neighborhood Council was for the majority, right? That's the boomers added me to the Council X, and I'm trying to get Generation X to figure out what the Roxbury Neighborhood Council is. I'm trying to get them to come to the meetings. before I can do that, the millennials have emerged with Reclaim Roxbury. But the same issue exists. There's not enough people in Roxbury that know that Reclaim Roxbury exists. And there's not enough people in Roxbury that are supporting the work of Reclaim Roxbury. Like, it has to be harmonious. It has to be, symbiotic, where they have a working relationship and trust Reclaim Roxbury or that whatever body is planning, and vice versa. So that they shouldn't be looking for a spot like that. I mean, my God, find them a spot. I mean, I remember Tito first introduced them 10, 15 years ago at RCC, at the Media Arts Center, trying to create a space for young leaders to emerge. So there's a lot of work to be done. We got to start listening to each other and start working with each other. Otherwise, there is no Boston's Black Power. Right now, you can't point to one example of Boston's Black Power.
I had told someone I would rather had sent off a text and say, how dare you not include everybody to, a little small silo coalesce group, because at least they had the ability to. I had rather that be the situation of days old, to where now it's nothing. And I think, to your point, and we'll close out here, there is
let me tease you with one question, because that was kind of cryptic. We all get on you about your cryptic.
Go ahead.
I'm going to go back to P3. I'm going to close it with P3 because that's our current hot button issue. I'm going to ask you a couple of parts of this. One, do you believe that the developing team around P3 has done its due diligence to, let me use my Scrabble words, to ingratiate themselves to the residents of Roxbury, that they'll be abutting, as well as the Black power structure of elected, financial, appointed leaders?
What was the first part again? Do I believe they've
garnered favor with? They're in good with the surrounding community of Roxbury or its elected officials.
Elected officials, yes, I think,
and unelected leadership.
To the upper end of the pyramid, probably. I think to the foundation part, there could be a lot more work. In getting the info out about what it does. Yep.
Do you believe the same to be true about the mayor? Do you believe Mayor Wu has a good standing with the residents in that area, as well as the elected officials that represent that area?
No. You
don't believe she has a good working relationship with them?
With the regular.
So, for instance, do you believe that if we say Senator, whose district? Senator Liz Miranda, State Rep China Tyler, City Councilor Minyard Culpepper, the at-larges, the Russi Louisiana Black at Large, Henry, if he identifies as so, a Black at Large, does she have a working relationship with those Black leaders?
Oh, those Black leaders, there is a working relationship.
Okay. Do you think that she called them before deciding not to not continue this not to redesignate this parcel?
Not all.
You think she called some of them?
Presumably.
And you think they agreed or disagreed?
You're gonna have to go down the list.
Do we think that they went back to the community or to each other to present on what the thing was?
Not that I saw.
So, to me, that shows around issues like Parcel 3 that there's not even a concept of shared power. Not even amongst the elected officials or in the community. That foundation block got left out of all parts of it, right? They don't know what the comments were from the electeds. They ain't hear from the mayor. They ain't even hear from the development team. They're just watching the show like, word, whose side are we supposed to be on? But
most people found out through social media posts.
But those that were chosen by the community, it sounds like they speak to the mayor in private, but don't speak to the community or each other about the things that they speak to the mayor about in private. A little shady to me. A little shady to me. Mayors, sorry to keep this going. You talked about cycles. Talked about cycles. Mayors usually uphold cycles unless they're reformers, unless they're like, really gonna turn the system on its ear. So regardless of whether their name is Thomas or Martin or Michelle or Kim, Your job, if, as I believe it, if you are a Black elected official or a Black official, period, in Boston, you know you've been on the short end of that stick coming from the executive branch for generations. Whether you like Tom, Kim, Martin, or Michelle or not, your job, as I see, is to get as much as you can to either break that cycle or to make up for when that cycle has ished on you before. If you are not, I don't care if you're getting 90% of what you want from the mayor, I'm still asking for the other 10. So the fact that they don't even believe in collective power, the fact that they don't even believe that their phone call with the mayor should be enough, that should suffice. Oh, she called me or he called me. I'm good. I'll be taken care of, is the reason why we don't have a Boston's Black power. It has to be a shared concept, and those that operate off that shared concept have to work together and show it on a sustained basis for it to become culture, for it to become habit, for the community to believe in it, for them to be able to do it, for it to be able to replicate regardless of who's participating.
No matter the issue, no matter who's in office, no matter whatever. That
You celebrate Christmas no matter who the president is.
can't make it any plainer than that. What again, I want to reiterate what we left with, and you've added more to it there, that the ability, what I heard also there was toward the end was the ability to, and we talked about it in the beginning, the ability to get through our stuff for the recognition of shared power. So we have the recognition that we do have the potential power at this level. And as we galvanize that and push some that grow into or assert themselves as leaders to the top of the pyramid to sound the clarion call to everybody. And you remember the adaptive leadership model? You go to the floor, you dance, then you go up to the balcony, observe, and then go back down based on what you experienced. And so that's because my brain is going off, firing off in real time. All right. The synopsis is that we recognize our power at the bottom. We can have the expectation of grown into or asserted leadership with understanding that they are human. And so to what Preem said one time, we can't elect and neglect, but then that's also opposite, that they need to constantly come back, take the elevator down to the bottom of the period, check in, get informed, get refueled, and then go back up.
It should be an escalator. It should just be, I'm coming down, you coming up, we pass information on. Yeah, it should be an escalator.
That is
constantly in motion.
We're not walking away with no big, academic citing white paper that you did. This is just, Carlos.
Either you're going to do it or you're not going to. And that's why I wanted to really start with the foundation. Like, yes, it's heavy. Yes, it'd be nice if other people did it. Yes, it'd be nice just to leave it to the electeds, just to pick 15 people and say, yo, go get us our equity, man. Go get us our equity, bro. But if that was the case, it would have been done a long time ago, because we've been picking people. We just haven't been supporting them, standing by them to get there. And again, we started with the Boston Click thing. There's so many of us struggle with our own personal issues to be able to support somebody else in our lives, whether it's even on our own family and friendship, never mind when we get to an external circle that's a few people removed, right? So it seems very simple, sounds very simple, but there's a lot of noise in our lives that come from other places that take us to comfort and to places where I don't know if our ancestors had such places to escape for comfort. And I think that in the future, those things might come back to haunt us, right? The fact that I can just get in my phone and find something to echo rather than having to sit in the dark or with a lantern and just think about the struggles of tomorrow coming. You know what I mean? I don't have that discern. It's easy to get away from discernment time. There's a lot less time to discern these days than before. So it is ever changing, and we are a people, and we should give ourselves grace to figure this out. But like good therapists have told me, and many of my elders, even my mother, when you're in a relationship with people or someone and things get hard, it's usually easier to turn towards each other for a solution than turn on each other for a solution. And it works in personal relationships, so I would love to see it work in public relationships. But I get the stress of it too.
I am nodding my head to not keep us here another. You want some Tanya Anderson level? We'll go into 3 hours. But these conversations are relevant. Again, somebody is walking away further informed and challenged. And the next time a conversation comes up about snow, P3 or whatever, they're now further informed and challenged. And hopefully somebody today take their printer and put some sheets on their street and say that we're going to call 311, or at best on Saturday at 11 a.m., bring your shovel and we're going to move the mounds into our yards.
And you know, and I'm gonna meet you. As much as I feel like I'm gonna regret doing this, I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm going to offer myself to anyone that is seriously starting a civic action group. You know, 5 or more people that live in a shared geographical area that want to make a difference. If you want to have a short Zoom or a call where we can set up with you and your team about certain actions you can take, and you want to brainstorm about what that would look like on your block based on the goal that you might have, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to be helpful in that area. Please reach out to me and contact me. This would be usually where I give out my information, but I'm pretty easy to find. And I think that if you're serious, then, you know, you'll find me and you'll send me a message and you'll meet me there. And I'd love to help build community, because if I'm not teaching, like I said, I'm not really doing anything. Because like you, James, I've gone to all my community meetings that I'm willing to go to unless I'm really, really moved by it. But I probably got like 15,000 under my belt. So, and I'm older. So I don't want to go. But I want to teach others what I got from those meetings and how I read those meetings and how I held my own meetings and how I shaped them and things like that. I'm more than willing to continue to give. So that's my pledge to Boston's Black Power. If I can be supportive in your effort in any way, I will. Please let me know.
I appreciate that. My eyebrow was going up about, because, you know, we tend to take stuff on. And I love this because I love how you challenge, because there'll be an investment made. I was going to put your, contact and all that stuff up. And you will, if people start reaching out to you with me not putting that up, your first thing says they put in the footwork to find.
Yeah, that's how I used to hire kids from my neighborhood. You got to come find me on the dolo, even before I hired them. And then you got to jump through these things. Not saying I'm trying to jump through the hoops, but, my time, I do believe I value my time, and I don't want to just give it away to people that aren't serious, because I'd rather give it to people that are serious and going to do something with it. And so, speaking of serious people, that's Stacey Board, and I can see the name, but I can't.
She said, we are at New Beginnings Reentry Services with Rachel Rollins, and we'll be reaching out to you. We have to teach our people. And imagine you virtually, because he's not here, Stacey, but virtually you work with Stacey's group, and you have 12 to 14 women. It takes a little 6-week or maybe one, session with you. And they walk out of that program knowing how to organize. And then because they shift the cycle of how they even got there,
and they have a constituency, then they'll teach their group, and that group will teach another group.
This is how we go. And there go Milton Love and Rachel Rollins. All right. We're going to get ready to wrap up, everybody. I believe that you all walked away today with knowledge. Arthur Doubleday said that today we went, where did it go? We went to school today.
Appreciate that, brother.
Walking away with information, mobilization, with understanding the commitment and the heaviness that comes with that. But then
the
relationship piece and managing expectations. I just want to throw it, managing expectations in relationships, so there's less room for disappointment and strained relationship. If we're going to do it and teach people in the beginning, we got to put everything out there.
I'm with you. That's why I said to you, don't expect Mayor Michelle Wu to act like a black man from Heath Street, from Heath Street. James.
Carlos, it's related, but
that's all I'm saying. You'll be real disappointed. You'll be real disappointed when y'all aren't on the same accord, but y'all are two totally different people, two totally different lived experiences, two totally different beliefs and operating structures. Sometimes y'all align, and we all be on here seeing y'all kiki, but then y'all disagree, and now you on here like B3, and your fist is balled up, and You can see your eyes behind your glasses. You just got to maintain. Sometimes you're going to beef with a mayor. Sometimes it's going to be a woman. Sometimes she's going to be a man. Sometimes she's going to be white. He's going to be white. Sometimes she's going to be Asian. She might have her baby with her. Maybe you don't cuss. Maybe tell her to put the baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just make adjustments. Ain't nobody untouchable. This is just politics between people.
Yep, and it doesn't take away from the association, affiliation, and friendship that and friends do that. Me and Mingo, we do that all the time. I will say though, here is very different because this thing within the friendship, the impact and the come out is much less than what we going to eat and where we going to go. Well, everybody got to eat. Never mind, Carlos. I'm getting you off of here. Yeah. I really appreciate you for the years of knowledge you've given to me, for as much as, you for a period, checked out, healed, and did whatever you need to do. And you did not leave us. You say part-time Bostonian, but we appreciate you and we need you, bro. Cause you
can send your checks directly to, no, I'm just playing.
Carlos, I don't know if did I cash app you?
No. I'm just saying. I was about to go on my Mel King thing. Do you know when Mel King first ran for? Damn, I was supposed to let you get me off of here. Do you know when Mel King first ran for state rep in 1979? They were like, Mel, we need you to run. We need you to run. Mel was like, if you need me to run, you raise me $50,000 and don't ask me again. And he stepped off. And then they came back with the 50 grand, and Mel King ran and became state representative in 1979.
I did not know that. And this is the second example of leadership.
And funding for ourselves. We don't have to go around asking everybody else. You got that $5. That $5 you spent at the dispensary and at the liquor store and on that nice belt and on your next vacation, you could have reallocated. Again, I don't like to do math, but 20% is a nice round number. You could have taken 20% off that and sent it to an elected official, a nonprofit. You could have sent it to One Love Sports Academy. You could have, you could send it to where it would have done some good besides just for you.
It comes back. One of the main, and we're going. Really, a lot of this today comes back to as an individual. What?
I'm just laughing because we can talk forever. I'm just laughing. We keep trying to go. I'm just gonna keep my head down. Go ahead. It
comes back. Everything that we talked about today comes back to us as individuals. As an individual, we're going to educate ourselves. As an individual, are we going to make the decision to recognize some of our power and then Voltron it with the neighbor next door? And then as an individual, are we going to be willing to, you said this the other day, for the purpose of getting something done, we may not be unified, but we're going to have to be uniformed in our presentation and our engagement. And so it just, oh God, it's not rocket science. Anyway, we just,
no.
My pastor used to say when people would be caught up in shouting around the church, he said, there's no end to this, that we just going to have to make a decision to just stop, and pick it up at a later date. But I know that people walked away today with knowledge, challenge, and with the understanding that we only have the ability to control our individual selves. And then if we do that, and Voltron together as individuals in our potential power, no matter a mayor, no matter an issue, no matter a problem, we're good.
Now we're talking about power. That was a good power session right there. That's like a therapy session right there.
I will say that I know that was the affirmation for us to go, because you didn't stall during the whole show. And when you just leaned up, it said,
we can wrap on that.
Yes, sir. And we just decided to end because I'm just going to end the stream, folks. Oh, well, Carlos, I got to make some announcements. Brother, thank you. And I'll follow up after I decompress and BM. And I'll not BM that y'all are thinking. After I decompress.
I got to go to the store.
I don't. Listen. Anyway, I'll follow up with you. But Carlos, thank you. And as soon as
it's my pleasure, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you having the steadfastness of having this platform, because just like the community organizing, you don't have to do it, right? You could let it be a vacuum. You could let it be, you could listen to the naysayers. You could not want to get up every morning and have to put on a nice face, good behavior, nice attitude. That takes labor. It takes an effort, and I'm aware of that. And so I appreciate the labor it takes for you to make yourself uncomfortable so that you can deliver what you feel is good for the community several times a week. And that is labor. And I want to acknowledge it publicly. Everybody thinks you're just having fun. They don't know, before we even got on, the internet was acting shaky. You got 2 or 3 computer boards that you're looking at and monitoring at the same time, controlling levels and screens and changing camera shots. When everybody else has a producer that's doing that, you're doing that yourself, and you're reading the comments, staying on your notes and producing a whole show. You're doing the job of like 4 or 5 people. So regardless of what they think about it, and you have a solid crowd that's been here with you for almost 6 years. It's a beautiful thing. So I'm always going to take the opportunity to come on and speak to a curious, intellectual, and caring crowd that you have curated. There was a lot of C's in there. I like alliteration. Yeah, so thank you. You can thank me all you want, but thanks to you and your listeners and your followers. Appreciate all y'all.
Thank you, brother. Please give T my best, and I look forward to when you. I'm going to convince Los when he's back in town. We're going to have to set up some sort of in-person something with him so you all can get to meet him that have not.
Look at that. It's been 2 hours already. Gotta go.
You and your right. Members get 2 hours. All right, Carlos. I love you, bro. Appreciate you.
Love you too, man.
Thank you. I need a commercial. Oh, goodness. This brother right here, we're going to have to get him into some organizing. What's up, CTC? Thank all of you for being here. Thank all of you that have been here for the whole 2 hours. Thank all of you who understand, though not always the way everybody may like it. My motive is equity. My motive is information, education, and mobilization toward action, toward equity for the most marginalized communities. Maybe I need to start putting my mission statement to scroll across every show, not only to remind y'all, remind my damn self. We will be back tomorrow at 12:30 p.m., not 10 a.m., live from WGBH, and the conversation continues. I love the programming of this first week of Black History Month. With Carlos today about Black Power. Tomorrow at the GBH Amplifies, James Jimmy Hills, host of Java with Jimmy at the Boston Public Library. We will speak with Nia Grace and also Curtis Rollins. And if you know them, it's going to be on this level of energy. And also, I know both of them, and they are professional and they are seasoned and but they're very blunt and real. And that we're going to have, like we did today and been having all week in all of our conversations, a very real conversation about what's next for Black Boston from their perspective. Nia has a wonderful business mind. She's an entrepreneur. She's a Roxbury bred, probably Roxbury when she did. Curtis Fenway and Roxbury as well. Migrated here from, I believe, the South, but has been here and invested and served on all type of boards and community organizations. Their combined purview, I believe, is going to further the information, but there's also challenges that came out of today's show. And I think the greatest one is that at the end of the day, we as individuals, we talk all this macro, we as individuals have the power to do our best to make decisions that will not only be good for us as individuals, but the village as a whole. And so that is the goal. Thank all of you for being here today. So many that I did not get to acknowledge. Please charge it to 2 hours of conversing. Shout out to my brother, Sean, that just hopped on over on Instagram. And Tashad, Tiana, Taine just jumped on over on Instagram too. We're gonna do that show with me pronouncing names soon. All right. Hopefully we're Brother Fred. Oh, we talked about Carlos talked about you. It stays up evergreen. So just go back on Facebook or YouTube and you can speed up to where you jumped off. And you'll be good. All right. And respect to you, brother. We see you. Respect. Yes, mother, I will eat and drink. And my mother's telling me to just hurry up and get off of here. We'll see you all tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. live from GBH. And the information is on my page for you to be able to watch. This Facebook Live event thing and how it messed up last month. Hopefully it works tomorrow so you all can watch Nia and Curtis. All right. We'll see you all tomorrow at 12:30 p.m.